Today, we're going to have a very, 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 very interesting conversation. We're looking at governance, participatory governance in our country, Nigeria, especially now that we have a different government in place. Our conversationist today is a lawyer, chartered secretary, and an administrator. Lawyer, chartered secretary, and administrator, and has worked in different sectors of the economy, in law firms in Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, and Akure. She was legal advisor, corporate secretary of the Pro-Natural International Nigeria, an NGO focused on sustainable community development in the Niger Delta region. So she's been doing a lot of development work. And then she was special assistant to the Ondo State governor on community development and NGO matters, and later as chairman of the Ondo State Wealth Creation Agency. She has worked with different organizations, the World Bank, the UN Habitat, and on various projects. Graduate of the University of Lagos, fellow of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administration, and fellow of the Institute of Public Managers and Administrators of Nigeria. And she sits on the board of Global Women in Leadership for Sustainable Development. Please welcome with me Mrs. Bolanle Olafunmiloye. Madam Bolanle, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here talking to you, and it's great to be around beautiful people of Nigeria. Should I say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where we are?
Absolutely. Where are you?
Oh, I'm in Akure, Ondo State. And I hope you all know
How did you find yourself?
Sunshine State.
Sunshine State, wow. Great, great. How did you find yourself in Akure?
Let me put it that way. It's a long story. I'm hoping to share it with you. It's a long story, but interesting. I never thought I was going to end up in Akure. Born and bred Lagosian, born and bred Lagosian. But through work, mostly, we found ourselves here over it's going almost 20 years now. Almost 20 years. What brought us here? Because we wanted to impact on the lives of the people. We wanted to do our own part as Nigerians and see how we could, improve the lives of those around us, to impact their lives, basically. So I came here in 2009. And I've been working on community development ever since. The love I have for the people made sure that I worked at the grassroots level. And I guess I got swept by the sunshine and the Sunshine State and all the elements of Akure. Very peaceful state, very peaceful city. Ondo is the state, very peaceful city. I'd recommend anybody to come here. But yes, we're here. I have my law firm here too now. And we're trying to do the best we can.
And of course, you forgot to mention the pounded yam.
Definitely. And the Obelasefo and the tradition generally, the culture is rich here. I'm from Ondo State, Ondo town. My husband is from Odigbo, so we're very deep-rooted Ondo State in
You're frozen.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. You froze a bit. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
All right. Can you please tell us what you've been doing this last few years, especially in terms of governance and community grassroots involvement and things like that? Can you describe to us what you've been doing?
Okay. permit me to start from when I got into the issue of governance. This was 2006, I believe. I got a job offer. I've been a lawyer all my life for over 23 years, loved litigation and all. But in 2006, I decided to test the waters and go into corporate life. And so I joined an NGO called Pro Natural International. Now they are based in River State, Port Harcourt, but they were quite well known to do community development in the Niger Delta area. So we're talking Bayelsa, Rivers, Akwa Ibom, even up to Ondo State, Delta and all that. And what they were doing was about community development. I joined them as actually a legal advisor from corporate secretary. But I decided that I wanted to know more about what they were doing. So I joined the field work. And I found out that they were doing so much at the grassroots. So much, those that know the Niger Delta very well, places like Akassa, Okobo, they found there's a lot of poverty there, and we looked at how we could, improve their lives, coming up with projects and things like that. But I saw the effort the civil society was doing to improve the lives of people. And the effort was not supported wholeheartedly by government, I feel the civil society has been filling the gap where government has not done too much. I don't want to say failed because, different governments have tried at different times, but more could have been done. More could still be done for our people. And so I saw an opportunity when Dr. Mimiko became the governor of Ondo State in 2009. And I pitched the issue to him that, look, see what the civil society, see what this NGO is doing so much at the grassroots. Imagine if they had the political will, the support, where government can actually take up a lot of these activities. And he was quite interested with what I had to say. And immediately he said, look, Ondo State is ready and willing to touch the lives of the grassroots people. We want to improve community development. And he agreed that we should go ahead and work together to see how we can come up with impacting the lives of people at the grassroots. Only because we brought out a different model, a different strategy, which is founded on participatory governance. And because of that, they appointed me special assistant on community development and NGO matters. And for the next 6 years, we were working in different communities. We set up what we call the 3 Eyes Initiative. And the 3 Eyes Initiative was to look at the infrastructure, the rural communities that were there, and then the industries that were also there, including the resources.
We can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I hope I wasn't, okay, let me start by saying, once we were appointed in 2009 to come up with a community development strategy that was based on participatory governance. And that was how we came up with one of our projects called the 3 Eyes Initiative. And the 3 Eyes Initiative, first I was for infrastructure. And what we wanted to do was build the confidence of people back in government, because we found out that government was not, people were not happy with government. They used to build promises. We know how Nigerian governments can be when they are looking at grassroots issues. Field promises, abandoned projects, the people at the grassroots did not feel that government actually cared about what they wanted to do. And so we said we were going to go in and impact the lives of these people. So what we did was, first of all, we agreed that we wanted it to be participatory, based on participatory governance. We wanted it to be what we call bottom-up approach with top-down support, meaning that we wanted to get the grassroots involved, and then we wanted the political will from the top. the combination was wonderful at the end of the day. We were able to meet people in different communities. First of all, we did what we call an engagement of the youth, because we had unemployed youths in Ondo State then. We're talking 2009. We engaged the youth, we trained them, and we told them that you're going to go into these communities on behalf of government. And you're going to talk to the people on behalf of government. And you're going to find out what the people actually want government to do for them. And that was how we started. We engaged the youth who we call change agents, and then we put them all in the communities. And then they came back with some information. They stayed in the communities for, sometimes 1 week, 2 weeks, just engaging with the communities. And then at the end of the day, we told them to, find out the baseline. Baseline means what is existing in the community as at the time we were entering, that's as at 2009. We now told them to find the needs of the communities. What do they want government to do for them? And then after that, we now told them to prioritize those needs. I'm telling you the steps we took now to prioritize those needs. And then they came up with a report that these are the things we would like government to do for them. Okay, we said fine. In fact, a lot of them were skeptical. Are you sure government is going to listen to us? Government never listens to us. What is our own with government? They've abandoned us in the rural communities. But we said, no, this time it's going to be different. And so when government looked at the list, we looked at their prioritized needs. And then we said, okay, just to show them that we're interested, we took the first of their needs, their prioritized needs. We took the first one and we implemented it. So we had rural communities. What did they ask for? Nothing much like that. They asked for basic health centers. They asked for us to fill up the health centers with drugs and equipment they needed. They asked for schools. Some communities asked for schools, because the children were, we had some communities where the children were actually under the mango tree taking classes, So some of them asked for schools. Some of them asked for good roads, because there was no access. Some of them asked for water, because there was no water within the communities. So, this process was very engaging, which is where I'm going. It wasn't one governor or more senator or one House of Rep member saying that, oh, I know what my people need. They don't have water now. Let me find out that they will get water for them. It wasn't like that, because we found out that a lot of these projects that are done might be abandoned by the communities because that is not what they need. And different communities need different things at the same time. The best thing to do is what? Ask them, engage with them. When we're talking about participatory governance, we're talking about engaging with the people, allowing them to understand what you want to do, allowing them to tell you what they need, and so that you can actually provide for their needs. And that is where our participatory governance topic is on. Governance is all about administering or managing the country and its resources. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Because I can see some people saying that, okay. So I said it's all about, managing people, managing the country, the resources to be able to achieve the good results. Good governance is when you actually go out and achieve those results. So participatory governance would ensure that, you're able to achieve the results because people have given their input, their own contribution to what they have done or what you intend to do. And by the time you have a synergy of the governed and the people being governed, or the authorities that are governing and the governed, by the time you have a synergy, then you have beautiful results. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's important for the governors to be participatory. Very, very important. Very, very important for it to be participatory. We were able to achieve so much. We were able to achieve people-oriented projects. And I can tell you for a fact that we went to over 600 communities and we implemented over 700 projects, because after that is just on the first eye. I'm talking about the infrastructure bit, you know, and I told you what the projects were. We had projects that had to do with basic health centers and all that. And not only did we equip, we linked them to the Ministry of Health and the Hospital Management Board to make sure that doctors were provided, nurses were provided for all those basic health centers that we had provided for them. So we now had to go to the next eye. You know, I told you it was 3 eyes. We had to go to the next eye. And the next eye is about institutions. So what we did was, while we went into the communities with the people, we, at the end of the day, identified, well, the communities were the ones that nominated 4 people in each community. We ended up training over 1,000 people just to build their capacity to be able to help the traditional institutions to monitor government projects, to liaise with government, to understand their rights and how to have projects, you know. So that was what we did for the second eye, which is about institutions. And then the third one was industry. We looked at the resources in those communities. The community members were the ones that showed us those resources. And then we now asked, how can we improve or turn these resources into community industries? And this is what we did. We liaised with the communities, with the community members we trained. We call them change champions. We liaised with them and we ensured that they were able to look at the resources of each community and come up with projects that could be supported by government. And so we have projects like Gary processing, projects like oil palm processing, projects like weaving and all that. It was a very, very intense period for us, but at the end of the day, we achieved so much. And that's why we've always supported the view that participatory governance is the way to go. For those that know Ondo State, between 2009 and 2013, the 3 Eyes Initiative and the Community Development Strategy was what drove the love of people to the particular administration. And I keep saying that we need to encourage other governments, state governments, local governments, federal government, to make sure that governance is participatory. And that is why I've dedicated my life to ensure that it should, you know, I'll continue to propose and continue to promote participatory governance in Nigeria. I feel that that's the way to go. You know.
Excellent. So I want to ask you a few questions.
Okay.
Number one, who in the community did you talk to? Did they have to select leaders and then you spoke to the leaders? Did you have town halls, or how did you know who to talk to get this information? Then did you use forms and things like that? And did you put everything on some kind of database or IT system that you can now pull up and do some kind of graph for the other as to what's going on, and so on and so forth? So I'd like to know who you dealt with in each community, or if they had representatives.
Okay, thank you very much. So this is how we identify. First of all, we had to identify the communities we were going to. This took a lot, you know, because what we did was we needed to realize that we wanted the rural communities, places where they hadn't seen government intervention in a long time. You know, there's just some places that government abandons. When you go to some states, you'll be surprised that government is available. And so what we did was that we sent out a team to identify rural communities and come up with a list. So we had our first pilot was we had 150 communities pilot. We chose 3 local governments, and then we now decided that we were going to go in. So what we did with at the first point of contact was the traditional institution. So we go into a community. When I say we, I'm talking about our change agents who were young people that, you know, agile people. We gave them the necessary equipment to go. We gave them laptops. We gave them, for those in the riverine areas, we gave them life jackets. We gave them all the necessary resources they needed. And their first port of call is the traditional ruler there. And then the traditional ruler is the one that will now call a general community town hall meeting. So a community meeting called by the traditional ruler of the community. And then we now talk to them about what we want to come and do. Of course, I told you a lot of them were skeptical initially, but we tried to convince them that, look, government wants to find out what you want. What are the things that you need government to do for you? So at the town hall meeting, we now identified the different stakeholders. We identified the women groups, we identified the artisans, we identified while the traditional ruler is there. You know, in Yoruba land, if you don't have an Oba, you have a Bale or an Oloja. You know, they always have a traditional head. And he's the one that calls the meeting for the whole community. And then it is in that meeting that we now identify the different stakeholders. Now, after the major meeting on the first day, the different stakeholders, the change agents will have meetings with the different stakeholders on the other day. What we realized is that we didn't want a situation where, you know, there are some people that are very prominent in a community. They might try to, you know, I won't say hijack, but try to impose their own views. So what we do is we had to have different stakeholder meetings. We met with the women separately so that the men won't be upset with what their wives are saying. We met with the men separately. We met with the artisans separately. So we met with teachers separately. We met with, if there were health workers in the community, we met with them separately. So different stakeholders on the second day. Now, it is then we now ask each stakeholder to have their needs. So we had the needs of each stakeholder. Then the youth will go around, find out what's going on in the community. And then on the day of prioritization of needs, the Bale or the Oloja or the traditional ruler calls another meeting where everybody will be there again. And then we will now say, this is what we have done. We met with so, and so. And these are the lists of needs. Now let's prioritize. So it's the communities that will now prioritize and say, oh, your women say they don't have a hospital here. The mortality rate of their pregnant women is high. You know, do you think this should be the first, or which one do you think is first? Things like that. So they prioritize their needs as a whole. Now, inside that meeting, they also nominate 4 people, 2 men and 2 women. The 2 men, we must have one that is an old elder in the community and then one that is a youth. The 2 women, one that is an elder in the community and one that is a youth. So we have 4 people for each community. Now, after our engagement with the community and our change agents leave, I'm talking about after 1 week, minimum of 1 week in the community, the people that will be engaging with government on our side will be those 4 nominees, and those are people we call change champions. So like I said, it's a process, it's a participatory process along the way. So it wasn't, there's no issue of anybody dictating or anybody hijacking or anybody doing untold actions on the project. So that was how we entered. That was how we were able to identify who and who we're going to work with. And that was how we were able to identify the projects that the communities wanted government to intervene, the intervention projects that they wanted government to actually carry out for the community. Did I answer the question?
Yes, you did. You did. Very good. Now, let me then ask you a few questions. How much did it cost, roughly? Do you have an idea of how much it cost for you to set up this process? How much did government spend to put all these things together?
I'll tell you for a fact that the cost wasn't an issue in terms of it wasn't expensive. Let me, how can I compare it? You can't compare it to the cost of building a flyover or grading the whole state or something, It was quite very, very effective, cost effective. The reason why I'm saying that it wasn't a singular project. It was a program over a space of what? We're talking over a space of 4 or 5 years, But I know that at the end of the day, because if I start saying figures now, it will be as if I was part of the PPFU. But I know that at the end of the day, the projects that were asked for let me say an average cost of the projects that was asked for, maybe the most expensive was maybe the construction of the basic health center. And that at that time was between, maybe between what, 5 to 6 million. I don't have the exact figure, but I know that we had different projects, different costs. That's for projects. In terms of the engagement, what we did was that our change agents, remember the youths that we use, we engaged unemployed youths. And I can still say for a fact that I'm very happy when I go outside and I see my change agents and we wave to each other. And they tell me that, the program touched their lives. We engaged the unemployed youths. At that time, we gave them 30,000 naira allowance every month, apart from their field allowance. So for field allowance for the communities you go. I have to say one thing, that it wasn't as if it was wholly government. We also partnered with civil society. And that was where I said participatory governance is about partnership, communicating and with the different stakeholders. So not only were we involved as government, the civil society community was also very, very much involved. And so they gave us their time, their efforts, trainings, impact assessments to ensure that at the end of the program is achieving the desired results and things like that, monitoring and evaluation. So you had different stages with different cost implications, And I think you have to ask the government of the total picture of spending for the period we're talking about. But I know for a fact that it was cost effective, it was worth it. The impact was enormous, it was amazing because of the feedback that we got. And if I can say that, I don't know if the former governor is here, but this was one of the beautiful things that he did that keeps people, remembering him as a caring heart governor, because he touched the lives of in different places he himself had never been to when he was campaigning. We entered the deepest of the deepest. We looked for the innermost parts of the state that is usually abandoned by government, and it was definitely worth it.
Okay, so how do you plan sustainability into this program? And how do you also measure impact and results and so on and so forth? What is the yardstick that you use?
There was definitely, like I said, it was a process. So we had definitely put in place impact assessment, monitoring and evaluation. Like I said, we worked with the civil society to ensure we had a group of civil society development professionals we worked with to ensure that. So after our government officials, change agents have gone in and all that, we've done projects, we've done training and things like that. We were able to send out the civil society to go out there into the communities and get feedback from us, concrete feedback. So we had cases where they complained that maybe basic health center still needed.
We didn't hear you.
Yes, I said we had. Yes, so we had cases where they would say, oh, they still need one or two things in the maybe basic health center. The feedback will be given to us by the civil society, the NGO that entered into that community. So we allowed NGOs to enter into each community. And in fact, at the end of the day, we produced an impact assessment report, which we submitted to the World Bank. After the 4 years, we had an impact assessment report, which we submitted to the World Bank on the impact the project had actually done, and it was, like I said, I can say it was over 90%, if I can say that myself, because it was real hard work for everybody involved at that time. For everybody involved, it had a lot of team effort, a lot of, what I'm trying to say is participatory governance is the way to go, because, the team effort is there. The people are happy you are engaging with them. People are happy you're engaging with them. People are happy that their opinions actually count. I was going to start off by asking people to send in their chat box some exercises, of, do you think your opinion should count in your country, in your society? And if I say we should have a quick survey on that, I'm sure majority would say yes, their opinion should count. And so government shouldn't feel that people in the rural areas, people in the even urban areas, Nigerians generally are interested in how their country is run and governed. I'm so happy with social media and technology that has given us these platforms to be able to, give our opinions on different issues concerning our country. But in 2009, we didn't really have all this, and so we had to go directly to the people. And we can still use technology, and still engage better with the people at the grassroots.
Okay, so how many other states are doing this? Is this only Ondo State? And is this thing scalable? In fact, I wonder why isn't it? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. Do you know how many other states are doing this? And is this thing scalable? Why are other states not doing it? What do you think?
Sorry, I didn't get that. I think there's an
only on those states that this is happening. Are you
oh, no.
Can you hear me?
No, I don't say it's not advanced. They're very advanced. Hello?
Hello, yes.
Can you hear me?
I'm hearing you.
I think I read somewhere or saw somewhere that, sir, you have links to Ondo State somehow. So you know that our state is not bad at all.
I know it's good for pounded yam. So I was asking, are there any other states in Nigeria where this is going on? And is this program, is it scalable across the country? What would you think? And are you still involved in the state right now in this sort of program, or are you doing mainly your own private business now?
first and foremost, you asked if it's scalable. Of course, it's scalable. I think, in fact, I was trying to look for, like I said, I really wanted to give a presentation today, but
yeah, you can go ahead and give it very quickly.
No, I won't be able to, because you won't believe the court. I was in court this morning. The court actually sat till 4, and my case was the last case to be called today. But I told God, I said, I'm going to make this particular event. And I rushed after, if you notice, I got in around to 5. I was just coming straight from court today. So it would have been
we lost you there.
wonderful to have come up with. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm saying that.
Well, you can still put the presentation together and send to us later, if that's okay.
It's scalable. I gave an example. We start three local governments, and then after 3 local governments, we scaled up to 6 local governments, and then we now scaled up to 18. In fact, what happened was, which is also an advantage of participatory governance, is that once you are able to prioritize and once people understand what you are achieving, they will allow you to implement your project. So we have 18 local governments in Ondo State, but we knew we could not go to the entire 18 local governments at the same time. And so what we had to do was start off with a pilot phase and then scale it. And that is what we did. 3 local governments initially, each from the senatorial district. And then we went to, we increased to 6. And then before we knew, we did the entire 18 local governments. And I can tell you for a fact that communities were still coming and saying, you haven't been to our community. You haven't been to our community. And because they realized that government was serious about engaging with them. So it is definitely is scalable. I remember we even discussed with the World Bank. World Bank also had their project CSDP then, but it was not as extensive as what we did because, of course, because this is government run. Government had the political will to actually carry it out, and it was done, extensively. In terms of what I'm doing now, I'm still very much involved in community development. I still work with different organizations for that. I'm interested in governance generally. So youth empowerment. I was the chairperson of Ondo State Wealth Creation Agency shortly after I finished my project with the government under the community development strategies. I went to wealth creation and I was working with youths and, of course, again, participatory governance. Participatory governance, we worked with the youth, we called them, we engaged with them, and I said, okay, you know what? Those of you that are interested in agriculture, let's see you. If you're interested in agriculture, this and this is what options you have. So we set up agro-business cities across the states, and then we put these youths there. And I can tell you for a fact that the youth, we trained them, we gave them inputs to use the facilities of government. And at the end of the day, whatever they were able to produce, because we had youths doing cassava, maize, we had some of them going into poultry and fishery on their own. They chose where they wanted to be. Nobody forced them or anything, because they needed to be committed to what they were doing. I know government has a lot of programs for agri, but at the end of the day, are you engaging with these people and asking them what they actually want to do? Because what happened in that particular agency was that the youth were the ones that decided this is the area I wanted. And we gave them the resources, we gave them the training. We worked with IITA, and we gave them the training and the resources. We gave them the available land for those that wanted cassava and maize. And for those that wanted poultry, we gave them poultry pens and inputs. And those that wanted fishery, we gave them fingerlings and input. At the end of the day, I met some fantastic young people that even till today are still in that business. And that is only because we worked, our strategy was about participatory governance, about getting people involved in programs and policies of government, not dictating, but getting them involved. And till today, I still work with different organizations for that. Because like I said, I'm very passionate about it. I work with, I talked about GWIN, Global Women Leadership. I talked about Inspiring Youth Camp. Every year, we have this Inspiring Youth Camp where we go to the community, our community this time around, and we try to use education and technology on our young people because we think it's important. Of course, I also run my law firm here in Akure, and we're doing, by the grace of God, we're doing well. And so over the years, I've worked with different organizations, worked with PIND, worked with UN Habitat. In fact, UN Habitat wanted to put up a one-stop center, youth center in Ondo State, and we were doing a lot of engagement until administration changed and things like that. But we still have the communication with so many organizations. But when people hear Akure, when people hear Ondo State, they think it's one rural state. It's not. So a lot of things are happening here, we thank God. And we're doing our quota. Of course, we have FIDA. FIDA is about the
it's gone off again.
International Federation of Women Lawyers, ARI, basically women's rights, promoting women's rights in Nigeria. So we're quite busy at making sure at the end of the day we touch.
We've lost you again.
People's lives in Nigeria. That's basically what I'm committed to do. I hope I'm not too busy.
It's okay. Is the government of Ondo State, the present government, still running this program, or it's ended with the Mimiko's administration?
No, they're not running the program, but I think what they are doing more is monitoring and evaluation, because there were some projects, there were some communities we had engaged with. I'm aware that the ministry is still there. We still have the Ministry of Community Development, and we have a special advisor on that, on the heading that ministry. And we also know that they've taken up more projects. There's this rural development RAMP, rural roads project, to try to open up roads for a lot of these communities. I was there a few weeks ago, or a few months ago, I think early this year. And I know that they are just ensuring that everything that we have done in the past is still being utilized properly. The basic health centers are still there. I know that they give them their drugs and equipment, periodically. I know that they assign doctors and nurses. They didn't stop that. So the sustainability is there, because if they don't, the communities themselves will make a fuss. I took it upon myself to visit some of these, especially the basic health centers. Even the school, there's a particular school I love, the school I said, where they were actually actually having lectures under a mango tree. But I saw it and I just couldn't believe it. And I saw the children and the students there and the teachers. And the teachers were actually teachers that were like community teachers, volunteers. You know, one of the things we did was to ensure that we had to ensure that at the end of the day, the volunteer teachers were pulled into the system as government teachers. And then, of course, after going through the necessary tests and things like that. And the school is still very much there. You know, the enrollment, I have the figures, you know, I really, I don't know, I really had the opportunity to share. I have the figures, you know, the enrollment. So those are things we talked about, impact assessment and the monitoring. So if we were able to build classrooms for them, we would see whether it has helped in, you know, increasing the enrollment of children in schools. And it did. We have records, we have figures. I've talked about the, you know, the impact assessment document that was produced, and, you know, we had a formal dissemination where we invited all the NGOs and World Bank and all that. So it's not as if it's going at the scale of which we started, but I know that a lot of the projects that were executed then, a lot of projects that were built then are still very much in existence, whether it's schools or, because these were projects for the community. It wasn't project for political reasons or for elections, or, you know, that once the government goes, that's the end of the project. These are projects that the communities themselves are using, you know. So yeah, I believe that that's, for me, apart from participatory governance, another key thing was that it ensured sustainable utilization of those projects that were created.
Very good. Very, very good. I want to really thank you very, very much. We're going to take some questions from the floor. I see that the gentleman called Bayo, his hands are up. I'd like to ask you a few questions, and then we'll take it from there. Bayo, can you please unmute yourself and ask your question?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. This topic is particularly very interesting. I mean, I'm very interested in this topic because of my background. I studied political science in Obafunmiloye Olafunmiloye University, and also community development was a course we took at a certain level. And everything we talked about, you know, during the course, even to, you know, completion of the course, are the things you've mentioned, you know, in less than an hour, you know, touching every aspect of it. And, you know, that really got to me. And something else that, you know, I'm really interested in, that got me interested again in community development, was the fact that during my NYSC, you know, we had this group, NCCF, where I was a leader, and they went to a community. We found out that the community had no school, had no water, you know, sort of ungoverned community, you know, and it's really very painful in a state where people have so much resources and nothing is being done. So let me go straight to my question. You know, just to use the example of the community I mentioned, they have land, they are predominantly farmers, and you know, they are people who are very skilled in making crafts. And I was wondering that what will it cost the government in this case to help them harness their potentialities in terms of, you know, putting their potentials together, helping them sharpen it so that they can be able to self-help and, you know, be able to mutually help each other. So my question is, how do we make community development a movement in Nigeria in such a way that people can, you know, touch their lives themselves? I mean, government can help them start up, and then the community members can help touch each other's lives so that the community will be able to advance and move forward, and that we're able to have, you know, a community where people can say that they have every basic need that they require in life, without necessarily having to beg or having to travel several miles to get to an hospital or to get basic needs. So my question again is, how do we make community development a movement that people can self-help? Thank you.
Do you want to respond to that, Bolanle? We can't hear you. You have to unmute yourself.
All right, can you hear me now? Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that question, Bayo. In fact, sometimes you develop passion from when you see things for yourself. And that's what happened to me when I saw the level of neglect, poverty, and just the general abandonment by government. And then I now see, some NGOs will come, we want to help the community, but NGOs don't have the kind of resources government has. The difference, let me say, the difference is government that is really interested in engaging with its people. And I understand government's part a bit when they say, we have limited resources. But you see, you'll be surprised that people at the community level, rural areas, their needs are not so great like that. It's different from city centers where they ask for bridges and all that. Their needs are not so much. And you just wonder why they are still, at this level when they could be so much more. The current system of governance that we practice in Nigeria, even during military era or under this democracy, it's quite top heavy, it's filled with a barrage of instructions and policies coming from, whether it is the FCT Abuja or the state houses. And then how do people get to hear what is going on? It's through media houses or press officers, This system is what we call it's called top-down approach in development balance, because it's the top making decisions for the people at the bottom. And at the end of the day, it can't work because it's the person, when they say it's the person that knows where the shoe pinches, that understands the solution to his problems. And so I agree that we need to make community development a movement, but different states will tell you that they have community development. Some people have community development ministries. Some people have agencies and things like that. So, but they have different strategies and models. And that was why we worked with our own. And I have to recognize the work of Pro-Natural in this case. They developed this particular model that we use. I saw it work at a minimal level in the Niger Delta region, some of the communities we went to, because they were working on their own. Remember, I said, what really got me eager, got me to be passionate about this is sitting down and thinking, what if government takes up that responsibility? Can they be at the forefront? Because it is their responsibility to provide basic amenities and needs of the people, and that was why we came up and used Ondo State as a platform. I remember that I made the presentation to the Governors Forum, and a lot of state governors got in touch with us. In fact, they sent in their representatives to come and understudy what we were doing in community development. And so I was a bit sad when we haven't seen the replica of this in other states. They came here, they did understudy, they took our reports, they visited the communities, they were impressed, and they left with so much enthusiasm. But the issue is we need to ensure that our government has that political will to actually engage the people and realize that their core responsibility to the citizens of Nigeria is how they can provide basic needs, basic amenities of the people as a whole. You understand? So looking at that, the community you went to, you said had different resources, but at the end of the day, there was no support. Maybe once in a while, an NGO will come and say, oh, we want to support you. They bring out some things. At the end of the day, it doesn't have that impact that would have been felt if it had the full backing of government. And that's why I said government must be held accountable to ensure that governance is participatory in Nigeria. And I have to tell you that it starts from how we actually elect our leaders. How we elect our leaders must count. We must be able to say, we want this person because we see the person is passionate about Nigeria. And the person will be willing to do what it takes to develop and, develop the community, develop Nigeria. Nigeria is made out of communities, whether rural or urban. And each community has its own unique strength. We need to show, and one thing I was going to also talk about before I forget, because that's come to my mind, is that when I talk about government, I'm not just talking about state government or federal government in isolation or local government. Because what we saw when we were doing our baseline, remember I talked about also carrying out baseline when we entered the community, we found out that different people had different projects. And guess what? A lot of these projects were almost abandoned halfway. Like, a project, you see a project that is only 70% completed. You go down the road in another corner of the community, you see another similar project, especially water projects. Another similar project, also abandoned halfway. Who did this? Oh, this was done by the state government. Ministry or agency, water agency. Who did this? The senator representing our king. Who did? And you had abandoned projects all over the place. And you're like, what is going on here? So participatory governance is not just about, one set of, one level of government going in. It's about also realizing that other government agencies are part of the stakeholders we're talking about. I had a problem with, not a problem, let me just say, but that even the donor agencies, we had World Bank, we had Action Aid, we had UNDP, we were all doing different programs. So I said, not as if people don't know about community development, but everybody was just doing their own. Everybody doing their own different community projects. A community can have different community projects from international agencies. At the end of the day, all abandoned. And so what we had to do was that, no, this can't be done. Let's come together. And I know at that time, we set up a Sustainable Community Development Council. And it was headed by the Commissioner for Economic Planning, because we wanted everybody involved. And once we get everybody involved, okay, these are the projects we want to do, so that you don't have two donor agencies, one senator and one state agency doing the same project in one community in a local government. Because the community would have, what happens is that when the communities have the opportunity to engage a senator, they will say, oh, please make this, do borehole or give us a classroom in this community. When they also have the opportunity to talk to community development officers from the World Bank or the UNDP, they'll say, oh, this is the classroom we want. And then each of those stakeholders go to their own respective offices, come up with a budget, do the plan and everything. And then at the end of the day, what happens? They all come to the same community and everybody starting their project at the same time. But when they now realize somebody is doing something similar, at the end of the day, it might result in abandonment, or the community would not be able to utilize. If they ask for one classroom, you give them 5 from different agencies and different programs. At the end of the day, they can only use one project. So when we're talking about participatory governance, it's about engaging the stakeholders as a whole, not just the communities. You talk to the communities, get their input. Stakeholders that work within that area, get their input. So we don't have duplication of projects. When we don't have duplication of projects, we can streamline the interventions for these rural communities, So I feel that community development should be definitely, we should make it, very, very compulsory. We should ensure that it is taken up by government. But like I said, what matters most is the methodology that is in place. This particular methodology is saying everybody has a say, everybody counts. And at the end of the day, we will listen. So it's not just to bring people together, it's to ensure that we listen to what people are saying. So I agree with you, Byron. I hope I've answered the question.
Thank you very much. There are a few more questions. I see Professor Grange has her hand up. I see Alhaji MK Haruna has his hands up, and Omadele Boyo. So we take those 3 questions, and then I'll hand over to my colleagues, Jumoke and Sonny, to run it from here. We'll take those 3 questions. Please note them, Madam Bolanle, and then let them come sharp, short, straight to the point. Bayo, you were going up and down a bit. Straight to the point so that she can also respond sharp, short, straight to the point, and we'll see how many questions we can take. Professor Grange, please, Auntie. Is she there or she's come off? Okay, maybe she's come off. Mr. Omadele Boyo, please unmute yourself, ask your question.
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Boyo. I'm a pastor, but I practice medicine. And the question I was asked about scalability is still the main issue in Nigeria today. As a medical officer, I did work in Benue State for like 5 years between 1985 and 90. And we did this community development thing you talked about, and it worked. But it worked because it was a church-based program among the TIVs, TIVS, as a tribe. So the question about scalability is still there. You did it as an NGO, and you had support from various agencies. Now, we have seen the problems you have highlighted, senators, I wanted to do something, everybody wanted to do something, but how can we make this a national way of carrying out things? How can we turn it from a project level to a culture of doing things? Because the primary healthcare definition, 1978, way back 45 years ago, has a lot to do with community development. And even as medical students, way back 76, 75, we were taught about primary healthcare being scalable, but starting with community. Till today, efforts at getting the communities to participate still revolve around defining needs and wants. So let me put my question this way, like Pastor Itwa said. Let's be brief. Scalability, 1, 2, meeting needs and yet, meeting wants and yet fulfilling needs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Alhaji Haruna, please. Please unmute yourself. Alhaji Haruna. Okay, who is Focus Brand? Please identify yourself. Okay, Jumoke, do you want to take it from there? Or Sonia, are you there? Okay. Alaji Aruna, please ask your question.
Yes, good evening all.
Good evening.
And Madam, I think you are doing a very wonderful job there, really captivating. However, it's like all you have been saying is anchored to the South, meant for the South. Just like Dr. now said in his last statement, that how can we make this thing a national program? The North is way out of focus for all these programs that you have been saying. Can we make it another national issue? Can we involve half of the country? That is the northern part of the country. Thank you.
Okay, who is Focus Brand, please?
We've asked them to unmute.
Okay.
He's
Maybe you
not
should just
unmuted.
ask these two questions, and then Jumoke, please take it from there.
Okay. We can't get Focus Brand, Madam. So if you can take those two questions, and then we'll try to see if we can unmute him later or mute them.
There's a Tom Ajibade. Tom.
Can't talk.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I can't hear.
Hello. Hello, good evening. Hello.
Go ahead.
Yes, please. Good evening, Barrister Bolanle. Well done. I pray God blesses our country and we get there to the place we all desire very soon in our own time. In Jesus' name. I came in late onto the program. My concern is actually refuse disposal and management. I don't know if you deliberated on it before I came in or if your government's worked on that. It's becoming increasingly alarming because everywhere you go, especially now that it's raining season, you know it's almost diabolical. The refuse, the waste you have on the way, and it's like I don't know if government cares anything about it. So I don't know whether you handle that while you were in government. Thank you very much.
Please respond to those three questions.
Okay. Let me start by answering the issue of scalability, because I would link that to the question about the North not being involved. And I say, I've said it that what we're actually promoting and pushing, and the movements that we want to, push to government, is that this is the way to go. Participatory governance at all levels. I'm just using community development as as a tool to show how participatory governance has been able to act on the lives of people. But participatory governance at the end of the day must be enforced in all aspects of governance. In all aspects of governance. So whether it is being applied in Ondo State or it is being applied in Kano or Zamfara or Sokoto, what we're saying is that once the government has the political will to drive development, it's such the people, it's the people that need the development now. Once they're able to, engage the people and provide the needs of the people, provide the needs of the people based on their priorities. We know needs are endless. We have unlimited needs, and limited resources. However, if you use the methodology of participatory government, you are able as a government, wherever, local government, state government, federal government, you are able to prioritize and plan based on the resources that you have. And that was why I said in the beginning that we started off with a few communities in a few local governments and scaled up to other local governments to ensure that if there are any issues or mistakes or lessons that need to be learned, we'll be able to learn it and then scale it. There is no reason why this methodology cannot be scaled up to the whole country. I said that we presented it before the Governors Forum, the Nigerian Governors Forum, and they were all excited about it. But I feel that maybe politics came in, the elections came in, and change of government came in, and things like that for them. But we continue to practice it. And so, sir, just to let you know that it is possible, even in the North, to have participatory governance at the community level. It might not be how we implemented our own, because how the North would view their own situation is different from how the South here views their own situation, you know. But I've realized that if you do not give people their needs and you just decide that you want to impose on them projects you feel they need, they will not answer you. They will not be responsive. So scalability is possible. We have shown that it is possible and it is successful if it is done. However, political will, government involvement, we must ensure that we get our government accountable to start listening to the people and doing what the people really want to achieve, okay? I think that's in terms of scalability. Just to say that the Dr. Boyo, that I didn't work as an NGO. We started off as an NGO because of the challenges that we saw, and we realized that with government support, we can do so much more. We moved the methodology and worked with government. So it was a government project, you know, and wasn't just a project. Let me put it that it's a program, because it went on for a few years, you know, and it's still going on because the ministry is still in existence. But we started the process. We started people thinking about how government can actually touch their lives, what they want from government. And so it's not as if it was an NGO thing. It was a government thing, fully supported by the governor of the state at that time. That's His Excellency Dr. Olusegun, the former governor of Ondo State. Now, let's talk about sustainability. And maybe I was a bit too fast in browsing through the issue of sustainability. Sustainability has to come in phases, you know. There are certain things that the Nigerian situation that we find ourselves, the society, to ensure that projects are sustainable, it has to, you know, it's not something you can think of overnight. You have to allow the process to work. Now, I told you that when we started, we went into the communities and engaged the communities first. We looked at their baseline, what they had, what existed. If they had school, how many schools? If they didn't have school, we recorded no school. Do you understand? And we started with a baseline. Then we now asked them, this is what we saw in your community. What do you want government to do for you? And this is what they wanted government to do for them. But they didn't believe government, because they said, that's how you people come and go. We see you during election, you campaign, you promise, and you don't come back. But we said, no, this is different. So we needed to build the confidence of the people. We needed to build their confidence so that they can even understand that this government is actually very sincere. And how were we able to do that? We talked about their first project, and we got government to implement their first project. And I told you the kind of projects that they had. So immediately we finished the projects, they were like, oh, really? It's true. I said, yes, it's true. This government really wants to have participatory governance with you. The next step was now to build the capacity of the community members. Now, we cannot build everybody up. Some communities had 100 people, 150, 200 people. But we told them, nominate certain members of your community that will liaise with us. These were called change champions. Remember, change champions, because we wanted them to champion the change in that community. And so we really worked on capacity building. And part of the training that we gave them was how to ensure projects are sustainable in their community, how you use their community, how you use these projects for the benefit of the community, and how you can maintain government projects so that you don't have to wait for government every time. We also gave them training on how they can raise funds within themselves. And I can tell you, there was a case of, there was one professor in Usho. I will always remember the professor in Usho. Usho is one community in Owo, local government. And he rallied up his community people when we built the hall for them, because they said, it's under a tree, we have our community meetings during the rainy season, and we built a hall. It was the community that provided the chairs themselves. Government didn't provide the chairs. They said, thank you, government, for providing the hall, because we have seen your effort. Oh yeah, they actually donated, they contributed, and they got chairs for themselves. I remember another community that they wanted a basic health center. When we gave them the basic health center, we linked the health center to hospital management board to get the nurse and a doctor that rotates. We didn't have enough doctors then for one to be permanently resident, but they know how they rotate within the area of the different local governments. Do you know what they did? They donated it's not a flat, an accommodation for the nurse that was brought in, that was assigned to that basic health center, because they didn't want the nurse to feel left out or to feel abandoned. They welcomed the health personnel, So those are the steps for sustainability. Now, the final step that we took, we talked about the resources in those communities. Communities can be independent financially. We believe that most of government projects will not be abandoned. We believe that they will be empowered, not only empowered with the capacity building we have given them, but also empowered financially with resources to be able to take care of themselves. And so that was why we were talking about the Gari processing. Before, what happened was that one community had to go all the way, like 2 hours, 3 hours, to another community to get their cassava processed into Gari. But what they now did was they came together, we built the Gari processing for them. They, on their own, came up with how they wanted to utilize it, how they would charge each farmer that brought the cassava for processing, and the price they would charge. And then there was something they needed for generator. And they found that we provided the generator, but they were providing the fueling of the generator based on what they raised from the cost of utilization of the processing plant. Now, that is what we call having a plan for sustainability. So once the community was empowered to understand the opportunities of utilization of intervention projects, they will now be the ones to decide how they will use. And I said that I'm so happy that at least I know that when I go around, At least I always tell my husband when we're passing and I see we had a symbol for 3 eyes. I see this, I say, oh, that's a 3 eyes project, and it is still functioning. And we're talking about what? We're talking about 15 years later. It's still functioning. You know, because the community was involved, because that was what they asked for. And of course, I'm just hoping that this kind of mentality will spread across the country, especially for the political class. They need to understand that the way we are governing, the way they are governing right now, is not the way Nigerians need to be. We should be better than where we are now. But we need to get Nigerians involved in their own development. You know, I want to say that I don't know about others, but I was not even consulted when Naira was going to be scarce. And I know the effects that had on so many people. Nobody, I wasn't informed. I know my entire family circle was not informed. And you do such projects and you expect people to be happy when the implication to their lives was disastrous, you know. So we must get government that becomes more responsive to what Nigerians are saying. And that is why I'm saying start, even where we start from community development, it will grow to other aspects of Nigeria. So the last question, I hope I've explained the issue of sustainability. The last question was waste disposal. I believe that I did talk about waste disposal. It's really out of my discussion right now, but waste disposal as waste disposal under community development. I know for a fact that while we were in government, during the period of Dr. Olusegun, Ondo State was given awards, I think twice, as the cleanest.
Excellent.
Akure was given His Excellency.
Commissioner of the Commissioners.
Okay. Ondo State was actually awarded, Akure City was awarded the cleanest city twice in Nigeria. So I know that part of the things that was done then was that participatory governance took place at the waste management level, you know, and maybe we could find out who was in charge then and how they were able to carry it out effectively, because what is currently going on is not good at all. So I agree with you. So I think I've touched on the 3 key things. Questions? I don't know if we have any more questions.
Yeah, there are 4 more. Professor Grange is back.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Madam Bolanle, my darling Aburu. Let me just call you that, because
good.
I am full of awe with your presentation. Honestly, I have heard about Ondo State, but in relationship to the maternal and child health program, that you brought down the maternal death within a short period. And how did this happen? It was because of your governor. Your governor was actually looking at the records of death and asking people to do what they are supposed to do. And God help them if they did not do it. So it is really the leadership that we are talking about here. And what surprises me is that he did not turn that into political capital. Because after he governed in Ondo State, we didn't hear any more about him. I can't say that I'm really surprised, because his effort was quite fantastic in getting his own program going. And the program was selfless. It was a selfless program. It was not like other programs that other states were running. They were running programs that would help them, they thought would help them to be elected. So it was a terrible thing that the country did not appreciate the approach that was being used by Governor Mimiko. Had the country appreciated it, we would be in a different situation today. That is what I want to say. And I have been wanting to try and contact him. I don't know where he is, so please, give me my sincere appreciation. And I would love to have a copy of his write-up of his program. As you have heard, this was how we sort of conceptualized the primary care program, right from the grassroots, the ward level, first of all, community ward level, then local government level. I didn't hear you say much about the local government. The local government, for this thing to be sustainable, the local government has to be very much involved. So, and right now, maybe they will become more involved now that they are being empowered and their money is going directly to them. But that is essential. It's very, very important. I want you to just make a comment on that. I don't want to repeat everything that you've done so well, my dear.
Thank you very much, ma.
I don't know. I don't want to call you a lawyer. You are both doctor, lawyer, social worker, whatever. Everything all combined in one. Well done.
Thank you so much, ma. Yeah, I mean, I feel awed by what you have said, ma. Let me just chip in that I'm also Oyenei. I don't know if
yes.
So glad, yeah. Once I heard your name, I was very happy to.
From the old block. Oh wow, that's good. No wonder. Well, okay.
Yes,
sorry, I can't show my face because I'm in a clinic environment, actually receiving treatment. I told you more about this, but I said I would do my best to listen to your talk because that's one of my passions, really. So excellent. How's your dad?
Fine, thank you. He's fine, ma. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you, and I hope you get well. Recover fast. Okay, ma. So thank you so much for your comments and your observations. I have to state quickly, when you talked about local government, I must have skipped that. But when we talked about the change agents coming into the communities, part of our change agents, apart from the youth, we had officers from the local government. So we had officers from the local government and officers from the Ministry of Community Development. So they also accompanied the change agents into each and every community we went. And then they have their records of everything that was done in the communities within their local government. Each local government has community development officers. And for the political class, they also have supervisors of community development. So they were engaged in the process ab initio from the beginning, So we did not leave out local government. They were a key stakeholder. In fact, when we're talking about getting the nurses and the doctors, because they had to rotate in collaboration with the Hospital Management Board, the Ministry of Health, they were also very much involved in even the teachers getting the schools ready and things like that. They were very much involved in all the process that was that we went through, all the things that were carried out. So local government is a critical stakeholder. But I have always said it's also, even at the local government, we must have the political will to ensure that we're ready to listen to the people. Participatory governance is at all levels of authority. Secondly, actually, because of the community development program, we had to work with the Ministry of Health. And the health program you're talking about, it was called Abiye Safe Motherhood. Abiye Safe Motherhood program in Ondo State. This was declared as a wonder, even by the World Bank and the WHO. They said that the Abiye Safe Motherhood program was recognized as a solution to preventing maternal mortality. And they recommended it for all the states in Nigeria. And they used Ondo State as a benchmark and as a benchmark for the reduction of maternal mortality in Nigeria. And they encouraged states to follow the procedure. Like I said, a lot of states came into Ondo State at that time. They were happy with what they saw. They were enthusiastic. But I guess we need to get that political will, which His Excellency Dr. Mimiko had at that time as the governor of Ondo State. So we were also very much involved with the Abiye program. And the Abiye program was centered around participatory governance. Because before we started that program, I remember the series of meetings that the governor had to have with the doctors, had to have with the nurses, had to have with the traditional birth attendants before coming up with a way of talking to the pregnant women themselves, and then coming up with solutions that meet their needs based on the discussions that they had. So the essence of the Abiye program was centered around participatory governance. He was willing to listen, and most of the project under the Abiye program was were able to reduce. If we're looking for impact and credible evidence-based impact, outcomes, we were able to reduce maternal mortality in Ondo State as a result of that. In fact, I remember that when we were about to start Abiye program, the community development team had to go into the villages, had to go into the communities first and identify pregnant women in those communities and talk to them. And at the end of the day, one of the devices the government used for communication was that then we had CUG SIMS. Were linked to their health officers, nurses, midwives. And, so governance is about designing a policy or policies and programs that impact directly on the people. Governance is about ensuring that the people's input is appreciated by those in authority, government, and understood by. Participatory governance is more about understanding the different stakeholders within a certain sector and engaging the different stakeholders, getting their buy-in, getting their inputs, because once they are able to be part of the development of the policies or the programs themselves, then they own it and they feel that it is there. There's so many programs like that that were implemented in Ondo State. And I think that was one of the successes that we had in that short period where Dr. Olusegun was the governor. And like I said, a lot of these programs are still available now. Maybe not at the extent and the zeal and passion, but at the end of the day, have been sustained even by the new administration under Arakuni Akeredolu, our dear governor. Even under his administration, a lot of these projects are still alive today That is what ensures sustainability. Not people just coming and telling people these are the policies. I'm sorry to say, when they say they've fed so many out of school children. Now I have out of school children in Ondo State now. I see them on the streets every day. How can we, make sure that they are involved in the programs and policies of government? It's the lack of involvement of people that causes distrust for government. And when a lot of people do not trust that government really has their progress, their development at heart, that is when they start misbehaving. That is when you have strikes. That is when you have things that are done to ruin programs of government. And that is what our politicians and people in authority must understand. So thank you so much, Ma.
Pastor Sonny, or do you want me to take these other questions? Okay. So we have
please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So we have 5 hands up. So do you want to take 3 at a time, right? So I'm going to have Uncle Folabi. Please go ahead and unmute yourself. And if you could keep your questions or comments very short so that we can take as many people as possible.
Good evening. My question is very simple. And you touched basically on it, and I'm glad you did. You have so many young children out of school. In your local governments, you've not touched on it. How are you, the last 9th National Assembly, in one of their last sessions, asked President Tinubu to declare a state of emergency on drug abuse. How are you tackling drug abuse not only amongst the youth and the young, but also amongst the elders in the local communities and everything? Because drug abuse is also relating to alcohol and everything. So that's my question. How are you tackling it and how are you dealing with it? And the second part of my question is, how are you tackling the youths and keeping them out from all your developments and all your projects and what you're trying to achieve? Thank you very much.
Thank you. May I have Mrs. Adetula, please unmute yourself and ask a question.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the speaker. I'm happy that you are from Ondo State and you live in Akure. My late husband is from Owo. So I have an attachment to that place. Now, my question is this. I'm aware that the senators and the House of Reps people, they get community funds for community projects. Now, how can we, as a people, empower the people at the community level to actually hold them on to how the money is spent, on when it is spent, and how they can give, show transparency and accountability? Because the amount of money is so huge that if very well spent, it will go a long way. The last person that asked question actually touched on drugs, and I wanted to ask, so I won't bother to ask again. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So we'll take one more, and maybe you can take all 3 questions together. Noyo, please go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question. If you can keep it brief, we appreciate that too.
Yes, good evening. This is Noyo Eden. I have a question. I was watching a program on, I think, Channel News, one of the Nigerian networks, and I saw this community, Ayeto community. I want to believe that the community is from maybe Ekiti or Ondo State.
Oh, yes.
The people there are struggling. The ocean is actually devastating the community. And they're asking for help from the government. What I heard the king, I listened to the Oba, the Olu, or the Oba of the community, and what is stated touched me because I'm listening to you, that in order for government, what I understand from your presentation is that in order for government to succeed, they have to work with the community, participatory governance. That means they have to be a cooperation, a kind of partnership between the people and the government. So when they sent people to that community some years ago, when they had this problem with the ocean, I think they are the banks of the Atlantic, the indigenous who have interacted with the community, with the water and everything, they told them the characteristics of what they were experiencing and what we work out. But fortunately, the people went there from the government or the agency that went there did not listen to the community, they did not listen to them. They went ahead and built some ridges, did some things, and when the water came, it just swept out everything. So I was listening to that program. I said, what can we do? What can we do to make the government, I heard that you have given presentation to state government, to make them understand that the people who live in the communities, people who interact with the community, with the environment, with the rivers, they know more about their community and how problems can be solved there. They have to listen to the people. At times they are experts. You can't just go there and you are dishing out instructions here and there. It will not work out. You have to listen to what people are saying. And I think that will help us a lot because I'm from a riverine community also. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam, can you take those 3 questions and then we'll take the last 3 sets of questions?
Okay, I will. Thank you so much. I think the first question from Uncle Falabi was about our youth, drugs, and all that. You know, for those that came earlier, I mentioned the fact that I was in court this morning. And in fact, we didn't finish the court sitting until 4 o'clock. And I can tell you there were 13 matters on the court list. And out of the 13 matters, 9 were drug related. 9. So we had different people, young men, young women, and there was one old woman that were involved in drugs one way or the other and had been brought to court by the NDLE. So it is a major problem in not just Ondo State, I can tell you for a fact, they are in all over Nigeria. It's a major problem. But the issue of the state of emergency, it is because, and it cuts across different types of youth or even old ones, whether you are educated or not educated, whether you are in school or you are out of school, whether you are rich or you are poor. And I support the fact that we need to realize that it's a menace we need to tackle. Now, participatory governance only comes in where government recognizes that it is an emergency that needs to be tackled. 2, is willing to actually meet with the different stakeholders involved. And you know, sometimes you even have to meet with the users so as to understand what options are available, what policies that can be put there. The NDLEA is working. I know that there are cases in court every day, but I ask myself, are the prisons large enough to take all these our youths? Are they large enough to take the volume of people that are using or trading or cultivating these drugs? So I feel that a more robust strategy should be put in place by government. And they might not be able to handle it just by empowering the NDLEA alone. They must go deeper and engage and see what options are governance is about. It doesn't stop government from having policies. What it does is it ensures that the policies are robust. It ensures that the input of all those involved or necessary or relevant are involved. It ensures that at the end of the day, whatever decision that is made will give positive and impactful outcomes. That is what participatory governance does to the process of government policies or programs. So I do support the issue of state of emergency. It's become a menace. The courts are full with cases of people that are either in trial or being convicted for drug-related, and a lot of them are young people. We cannot arrest and detain and convict all the young people. We need to find more better solutions, impactful solutions to the issue. So thank you for that, Mr. Falabi. But then you talked about youth and crime generally. Ooh, and that was why I said the participatory program that we had was, the first thing we did was realizing that we need to go into the communities. We could have said, okay, all ministry officials, so yeah, let everybody go. But we realized that there were a lot of unemployed youths, educated, or in fact, some of them double masters. I didn't have anything to do. And so we said, okay, this is a program. Let's get the youths involved. And government was able to bring in the youths. Under the first few years, the first 2 years, we had 150 young people that were involved. They were unemployed. They were involved in this project. 150 were employed. They were engaged. They were not employed into government. They were engaged for the project. And then we supported them with ministry officials and local government officials, just so they will have that form of, then we were promoting volunteerism, because we said we wanted people to understand that even though they're unemployed, they can volunteer for projects and programs, and they can still impact on not just their lives by improving their capacity, but on the lives of other people. So government programs can, look at that. It's not every time that we have to call youths criminals and all that. We need to ensure that we engage them in different ways. And there are different ways they can be engaged. I also talked about my time as the chairman of Ondo State Wealth Creation. One of my responsibilities then was to see how we could engage youths, but engage youths productively to be able to create wealth for themselves. And we said, which one could, which program could get youth involved, large number of youth involved. And that was why we came up with the program, the Pro Farmers and Agropreneurs Sustainable Scheme. We had 1,000 youths that we were dealing with. If people think the figure was there, it was small for the number of people that applied. We had over 10,000 youths that applied, but we were only able to pick 1,000 of them. And we distributed them in whichever project that they wanted to learn. And we had resources for that. We had agro-business cities in Ore. We had an agro-business city, for those that know Ondo State, in the different senatorial districts of Ondo State, we had what we call agro-business cities. And we told the youth, go in there and do what you can do. Whether it is agri, learn it, understand it. And I can tell you for a fact that till now, we're talking 8 years ago, till now, I have pro farmers or agropreneurs, I used to call them pro farmers and agropreneurs, that are still involved, making money, that are engaged based on what they learned for that period. So government should not say that, oh, the country is too big, oh, the state is too big, I can't take care of everybody. When you take care of one person, that person has the capacity to employ 2, 3, 4 other people. So it is almost like a catalytic effect. And so government should not feel that there's no program that can engage our youth. There are lots of programs, but you must understand these programs based on having discussions with the necessary stakeholders. It helps and strengthens the policies. For Owo, ma. Mrs. Adetula, how are you, ma? So should I say our in-law? Your late husband was from Owo. May so rest in peace. Yes, I agree with you. National Assembly members, even State House of Assembly members have community or constituency projects. Nigeria has a lot of debates and people have different opinions in respect of the constituency projects. My opinion is radical. I don't feel that the constituency projects are bad, because I feel that the people at the National Assembly, House of Assembly, are there to represent their people. And Nigerians are such that we are still very much interested in what our representatives come back to bring to the communities. And so what I do, at least based on our current situation in Nigeria, support constituency project. Some people have taken me up on that, but I say if it is utilized properly, it can do a lot, which goes to if it is utilized properly. What we saw, or what I see based on my experience, was that the constituency projects were there, but we still have a problem with the implementation, because the process of participatory governance is not followed. And so that is why you could see a senator that has built one large, 5 blocks of classroom for his small community with a enrollment of maybe 100 children. And the structure is so massive that can take 5,000 children. And we're like, look now, you need to understand what your community needs. And so at the end of the day, the remaining blocks of classrooms are occupied, if they're not occupied by goats and all that, they are occupied by touts in the middle of the night for criminal activities. So it's important for our political class to understand participatory governance. And I still feel that this movement, the first person that asked the question, said that we should make it a movement, that community development based on participatory governance must be enforced, entrenched in our governance system in Nigeria. So that at the end of the day, you see, when people know, okay, if we had a meeting and we know that we agreed that we wanted a basic health center, for example, I was in the meeting, you were in the meeting, all relevant stakeholders were in the meeting. And the representative comes and builds a basic health center. They ask for a basic health center with 4 wards. And then you now build one with 2 wards and said, even the door cannot, it doesn't shut properly, no equipment, no nothing. Then the people can say, but we asked you, we discussed, and we said, this is what you should do, and you agreed to do it. Okay, based on the agreement to do it, what have you done? This is not what we agreed on. That is where accountability will come in. Our political class might not even be transparent about what they're doing, but we must ensure that they are accountable. It is the people and the people that have participated that will ensure that the person in authority is accountable to what he has promised to do based on the discussions with the people. You know, so sometimes a lot of them are not transparent, but accountability, we must keep talking about it, build the capacity of our community members, which was why we did the second I, which was institution, to build their capacity to know the right questions to ask and what to do. So I hope I've been able to answer that. More you're adding, yes, there are Yetoro communities in Ondo State, and it's a sad event. It's one of the communities in Ondo State that has been encroached by the Atlantic Ocean, and the pictures and all that are very, very, very sad, because it has practically chased them out of the entire area. But I know that Osopadek and the Niger Delta Development Commission, NEDC, it's a major issue, and not just a small rural community. It's a major issue that might require the relocation of an entire people in that area. So all I can say is that if the engagement with the community, because even if they want to move them and they say we're not going, maybe because they don't feel that where they are going to is for their benefit. So you must engage with them. So if the officers of those different authorities use the participatory governance methodology for their development, then I can assure you that a solution will come. And then it will be a solution that is created by both government and the people themselves. And it will be implemented, I'm sure. What they should do is maybe get in touch with community development experts that can engage the communities themselves and come up with a robust solution for that area. That's all I can say in respect of that. Thank you so much. I hope I've been able to touch on all the questions.
Yes, you did beautifully and brilliantly too. Thank you so much. So we have the two last questions. Big brother Imokba is on here, so please go ahead and ask your question. And then we have LaughBat Innovation will be the last set of questions. And then we have a couple of questions in the chat that I'm going to read out to you. So
very good. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Barrister, good evening. I'd like to say how incredibly impressed I have been by your presentation, by your grasp of the topic. When I came across that topic, participatory governance, it's one of those words that sound like a buzz phrase, a platitude, and we have a lot of that. We have a lot of capable people in Nigeria, lots of knowledge. But the distinction here is that it's a very powerful tool it's turning out to be, one that's very effective, and one in which you've been able to share your experience and even the sustained results in many cases. My question is, what can you do, or what can we do? I'd certainly like to play some kind of, I'd like to learn from you actually. What can be done to encapsulate this and somehow be able to develop a template or some kind of a framework that can be passed on to those who actually seek political power? Because a lot of people seek political power for the wrong reasons. They get there and they really don't know what to do. So this could be their steering wheel, their direction, an idea bank, if you like, that can help to direct some of those efforts in more productive and sustainable, lasting directions. Thank you.
Thank you. So we are going to take this last one, LaughBat Innovations. Please go ahead and ask your question, brief. Sorry, we really did run over time, but I think we could go for the next 4 hours. So go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having this forum. It was very interesting. Madam Bolanle talked about her experience working with a lot of youth, training, capacity building, and meaning that some of them will have branched out on their own to be self-sustaining. And I know that I'm aware that a lot of businesses, especially startups, people that are fresh from training, have one or two difficulties. We have really in Nigeria, only a few percentage actually make it out, up to maybe 2 years in business or 3. There must be something you can share with us that, from experience, what youths can learn from, how, with your engagement with a lot of youth over the years, how can they do better? Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you so much.
you. Those are the last two questions, if you could take.
Yes, thank you. The first question was about templates. And I can tell you that the template was okay. In fact, this one of our, we had if I can remember, I had to be in the University of Namibia, where a professor from the had actually
We can't hear you.
Your audio was going off. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you repeat whatever you just said?
Yes, I said, actually, we have a template. The template exists and is scalable, like I said. But I was also referring to the fact that there was a professor at the Lagos Business School, who did the methodology we used as a template for his thesis. And we had to go to the University of Namibia to make the presentation. And it was discussed at length, so it's not even just scalable in Nigeria, it's also recognized internationally. I remember that at a particular time, we also got an award, an international award from Dubai, talking about the, let me try and get it up now. Because I want to get the name right. It was okay. Best practice. It was included in the best practice database of the Dubai International Award in 2022. It was included in the best practice database, because we realized that, look, maybe Nigerians, we don't want to hear the truth, but we took it, and this template has been, this methodology has really been recognized internationally, not only in Nigeria.
We are losing your audio again.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Maybe it's the network. So
Yeah,
I said this methodology has been recognized not just in Nigeria, but even in Africa and in internationally in Dubai. So there's an existing template, and anyone that is interested in looking at how we can also work with them, whether by government. I always encourage government intervention, because there's a lot to gain as a government if you engage your people right. So they can get in touch with us. We are available. I think my details are available with the organizers of the program. And that is in respect of having a template. So we do have a template that is scalable, that is flexible, based on, is the methodology that is really important. So the outcome in each different states can have different outcomes. So, but the methodology is the same, and we're available where you need our expertise. So the second question from Laughbird, yes, is an aspect I'm also passionate about. Because while working on community development, we talked about the third eye, which is industry. And we talked about getting people to understanding the resources available in the community and encouraging the artisans, the professionals, whether farmers or whatever entrepreneurs that are within the community to get into their businesses. What I realized was that it's not as if people don't have businesses, but the question is, why do a lot of businesses fail in our society today? And especially in the rural communities, even in the cities, especially our young ones, because I think it's partly our fault in terms of we've encouraged young people, entrepreneur, be your own boss, you can be an entrepreneur. So a lot of young people went into entrepreneurship, setting up their own businesses. And I know that as a result of when you assess them over time, you will find out that a lot of startups collapsed. Why? Because Nigerian society is very, what's that word now? Hey, it is very amiable. Let me put it that way. You know, there's so many challenges that a business feels, especially a startup. And what we did to support the third eye was to create a program that will provide business support to all these startups, supported by government. And so most people know that when they go into, when they get loans from banks and commercial banks or government, microcredits and things like that, they really, really have the desire to build their business and pay back. But the complex nature of our society, the hurdles that they have to cross, some people are not able to cross it without support. And so the COMBAT program, community-based entrepreneur development program, community-based entrepreneur development program, was to assist this program, these entrepreneurs in the communities and even in the cities to support them. So we go to them, we set up a team of business consultants, and said that let's find out what their challenges are and see how we can help as governments. So if we needed to talk to maybe where there is a multiplicity of taxes, we were able to find a way of talking to the different agencies to streamline taxes. If it is business support in terms of financial management, we were able to get one of our consultants to work with them. So one thing that I know is critical, another thing I'm passionate about, is that we need to ensure that government designs a way where business support for young entrepreneurs is important. We need to ensure it's also part of this participatory governance. What's their problem? It's not just finance. Finance, in fact, when I say sometimes finance is the least of our problems, it could be they have the passion. A fashion designer has the passion to draw, to design clothes and to make beautiful clothes. But does he really understand the business aspect of it? You know, does he understand the legal implication of setting a business? Does he understand the financial management systems he has to put in place? We need to ensure that in all our, it's still part of community development, in all our developmental processes and programs, we ensure that we understand what is wrong with the system. We understand what is needed by the people themselves, the stakeholders. We engage the stakeholders and understand what is needed by them, and then put in policies and programs that will support their development, whether infrastructural development, capacity development, or entrepreneurial development. Those are the key areas that govern a person's life. And so that is what we really use as the baseline for our participatory governance methodology.
Thank you so much. I'm going to hand over to Mr. President, but before I do that, I think you should be in Aso Rock running Nigeria. Nigeria would definitely be in a better position.
We worked with the UWIN program then and Empower, the first Empower, not this one now. The first Empower that was developed by under our dear Okonjo-Iweala. And Ondo State got a prize, best state. I was the focal person for Ondo State. So I worked with youth, I worked with them. So we're passionate about making Nigeria a better place. That has always been even sometimes to our detriment, but that has always been our goal, that Nigeria must be a better place. We must get this right. So thank you, Ma.
Thank you for your heart of passion. Thank you for your service and the love for the people. And I'm proudly Ondo. Claim, well, you're my sister. I'm from Ileoluji. So it is a very it is a beautiful moment for me. Thank you so very much. It's very heartwarming that there are people that have this heart of service, that are passionate and selfless for Nigeria. And so that gives us hope. And I'm going to volunteer to be your campaign manager when you run for president of Nigeria, and you probably will be the first female president of Nigeria. So thank you so very much. Yay, I prophesy this is a blessed platform, so it would be, but I really wish we could inject that passion into a lot of us and take what you have done to every community in Nigeria. So thank you so much for that, brilliant. And I'll definitely be in touch with you. I'll be shadowing you, and we'll be getting in touch with you for the next step. So thank you. Handing over to Mr. President for the closing.
Thank you very much, Bolanle. Thank you so much. We really had a very good and instructive time with you. You can see by the number, the quality of questions that were asked, that everybody is quite excited about this project. Definitely, we'll be looking for how to make it happen, even on scaling it here and there. So we'll be in touch with you, and maybe we'll have a one-on-one discussion, and then we'll take it from there. Let me just thank you and thank your husband for making this possible, and look forward to getting in touch with you very soon. And I join Jumoke to say that I think you should run for president. And let's share with this. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank
Amen.
you. All things are possible.
Okay.
You
Oh,
only have
it's
to
a
think it.
pleasure. I
Yeah.
also love the fact that I was invited here. In fact, when my husband told me, I was like, yeah. What am I going to do? But he says, no, you just tell them your passion. And I said, okay, fine. So I really, am excited and.
We lost your audio again.
So audios again.
Oh, sorry. I said I can see some of the people that are participants here, and I appreciate everybody for having the opportunity to talk to you and about my passion. Thank you, Pastor Ighodalo. You inspire a lot of us behind the scenes. We've never met, but we follow you and what you are doing for Nigeria. Nigerian youths, the motivation. We have very few, but we appreciate what you're doing for the country. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. God bless you. God be with you, and God strengthen you in Jesus' name. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Enjoy the rest of your evening and have a very wonderful weekend. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for your time. God bless you. See you again
Thank
next
you.
week.
Yes.
And invite somebody.
Pastor, can you hear me?
Same Zoom link.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
So how's it going, sir? This is Elijah.